be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness. Hello and welcome back. Episode 126 of the Edge of Greatness podcast is here. I am officially home from the hospital now for a little over a week. My daughter Charlie Quinn, was born last Friday, November 11th, and it's been a whirlwind. So I appreciate all of you sticking with me through a little bit of a break to try to settle in and get some things organized. But it's an exciting time. We're officially outnumbered. Life is chaotic and hectic, and I don't know if I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. Let's be real with this. This is what we wanted. This is what we were hoping for, and we're extremely excited and happy to welcome a healthy and strong young girl into this world. So, but I'm back. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen now, how I'm going to move forward. Those of you who are subscribed to the newsletter probably noticed that I did send one out last Sunday. I wrote it in the hospital, and then I sent one out today. Or if you're listening to this on Monday, I sent it out on Sunday. And so I've been pretty consistent about keeping that going, and that was something that I said I was going to try to do, and that's definitely still a main focus for me going forward. The interviews and finding time to do the podcast recordings are a priority, but there's something that's been really interesting since adding a third child to the mix and what it does as far as it's shaking things up. My normal routine, my normal schedule has been very challenging to keep. The 5 a.m.s have not happened, partly because I need to sleep at some point, and I haven't really found that switch yet to get back into what I need to do to be consistent there with the morning part. So, but that's part of what today's episode is. I kind of want to dig into this, is that I found it interesting. So through my experience here, one of many, obviously, of change, but change is something that no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what you're going through, you will experience change in some way. Whether it's a new job, being fired from a job, a move, getting married, getting divorced, having kids, losing a loved one. There's all kinds of change that happens. The change is a natural and unavoidable part of human life. Yet for some reason, we really struggle with change. It is something very challenging to overcome and to adapt with. And mostly, in my opinion, from what I've kind of experienced with myself, is it's because of its effect on our traditional routines and habits. When you have a big change, the routine that you had prior to that goes away. So the habits get switched up, the routines get switched up, and how you operate on a day-to-day basis gets just thrown in the blender and blown to hell. I mean, no better way to put it. But, and I think what happens is a lot of times we put so much emphasis and so much buy-in to this creating habits, creating systems, creating routines, to have a powerful and successful life that when they get challenged, it's hard to bounce back. So for example, you know, one of my favorite books of all time is Atomic Habits. It's a beautiful book. Goes into deep context about how habits are created, how we can change them, how we can affect them, and why they are so valuable. But I think something that often gets overlooked is when you start to only operate and live within these habits and you don't understand the nuance which is in the book on how to adapt, change, and redirect your habits, you become married to them. And then when they get forced into flux, we struggle. And so what's interesting is the hardest thing for me so far is the 5 a.m. piece, which I knew would be because sleep becomes very challenging with a newborn, and the 2 other kids are obviously they're off their rocker because they got a new baby in the house, and they're bouncing off the walls and doing things they don't usually do and fighting their sleep schedules, and it's just chaos, you know. But what's interesting is that because I love my habits and routines, but I don't live and die by them, I write at different times. I do my work at different times. I've found ways to adapt my routine. Now, am I as efficient? Probably not. Am I getting as much done? Absolutely not. But I'm getting enough done to keep things moving forward. And I think sometimes that's enough. We don't always have to be Mach 10 moving through things, trying to get to the next step. You know, sometimes a slowdown isn't the worst thing that could possibly happen for us. Sometimes that might be what we need. You know, maybe sometimes we're going so hard that the change that comes to us is a blessing. And that's the challenge in this, is that we all have moments where we have to decide what's important to us. And when that happens, how do we make time for those things that we were doing in that space? You know, right now for me, I'm choosing my sleep over getting up. Before, when I was in a good, healthy, easy to follow routine, I knew I could go to bed at a certain time and then therefore I could get up at 5. But now I may still go to bed close to the same time, but I'm not sleeping as well because I'm either sleeping with my son because he's in a place where he needs that, or I'm sleeping next to a screaming child who every couple hours wants to eat and has really confused the idea that, you know, nighttime is when you sleep and daytime is when you're awake. You know, that's definitely something that she needs to work on. We've had some conversations about that. It hasn't quite clicked yet, but, you know, I'm feeling optimistic that we're getting closer to figuring out how to get her to stay awake during the day and sleep at the nighttime. But, you know, in the meantime, you know, the other day I wrote a post for content at 12:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday. That's fine. Like, I don't have to write at 5. I chose to because it was easier. Yes, I was writing and the kids were running around and there's a football game on in the background. So it's not ideal. I'm not probably doing my best work, but at the end of the day, I just need to continue to keep working. I need to continue to keep making progress. And even if it's a smaller step or a little step, or I need to adapt how I'm consuming content, how I'm creating content, and change it a little bit, then so be it. That's fine. The biggest thing is don't stop. And a lot of times when change happens, it throws everything so far out of whack that we walk away from what we were doing, and it turns into an even bigger problem down the road because restarting is harder. You know, I didn't have any interviews lined up today, and I thought about putting this episode off, but in my mind, it's the same conversation. Is the longer I wait to try to make this happen, and again, so for transparency's sake, I'm recording this episode at 2:40 on Sunday, and I'm going to release it here in about 4 hours. So it's a later recording for an episode that I'm going to put out today. Normally, I would record this either Saturday morning when I get up before I go to work, or Sunday morning, first thing in the morning at 5. So it's not a huge difference, but there are some challenges here because now the kids are awake. My daughter is currently napping, so this works. But again, we try to adapt. we try to overcome, we try to change, and still just trying to get work done. So there have been some challenges, there have been some changes, but the biggest thing that I think that I learned from this is that you can rebuild the habits and routines. You can adjust them. Don't beat yourself up if your life faces a change and it causes your habits and routines to be stressed and challenged. As long as you can continue to find time and make things happen and get some work done, you're doing okay. It doesn't always have to be so systematic. It doesn't always have to be so perfect. There's going to be moments and times where it's just not what you thought it was going to be, and it's just a struggle. So again, I want to say thank you to all of you who wished me well when I went to the hospital with my wife and for the arrival of our daughter. I greatly appreciate that. I also want to thank you for, I had a few people reach out and ask where I was. They didn't realize that I was going to have, they didn't realize I was having a kid. It means a lot to me that there are people who are paying attention, who are following along, who are enjoying what I'm doing. And that gives me, more energy and excitement to continue to put stuff out there. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't mind the scruffy dad beard. Again, I'm not sleeping that great. And if you're listening and you hear it sounds a little nasally and I'm sounding a little funny, children are no joke. They bring home all kinds of goop. And so I've been battling a little bit of something here. And, but I'm like I said, I'm not married to my routines. I'm not married to my systems or my habits. I try to create the best ones I can, but I also want to maintain a level of flexibility that when things go a different direction, I still have the ability to control what I get done. And I hope that you find some value in this today, that one, it's okay if you're not always exact in your habits and routines. It's okay if some of them are harder to keep than others. And if you're facing a change in your life or a challenge in your life, give yourself grace to work through that and maybe adapt your habits and routines to fit the new reality. It doesn't always have to stay the same. There has to be room in your life for some flexibility in order to maintain a level of momentum forward. So I think that's it for today, guys. I wanted to get back on here. I wanted to chat a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm looking forward to connecting and getting back into doing this more. I'm hoping over the next few weeks my 5 a.m. routine maybe starts to come back a little bit and I can kind of get back into the writing a little bit more consistently with that. But yeah, shoot me an email, charles@theedgeofgreatnessproject.com. Head on over to the website. I did almost forget the new book, Master of the Sea, is just 2 weeks away. I am still doing a pre-sale. You will still get free immediate digital access. I've gotten some incredibly awesome reviews so far. I'm really excited to get this out there to you. It is on sale until December 1st. On December 1st, it's going to go to the actual sale price of what I'll be selling it on Amazon and everything else. But in the meantime, if you go and order it now, you get a discounted autographed copy. And I'll put you on the list of people who will be getting it, which includes a team in Canada and a few, I think I have 8 or 10 copies already pre-sold. So I'd love to get a few more out there. And so if you're interested, go ahead to the website, theedgeofgreatnessproject.com. I'll put a link in the show notes so that we can go straight there to the books category and check that out. So again, guys, thank you so much for all the kind words. And I appreciate you guys wishing me well with the arrival of my daughter. She is incredible. I'm super excited, and I'm blessed to be a father of 3 now. So, as always, guys, keep reaching for the stars, fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.